This NBA season could have the craziest trade line in recent years. All around the league, you see teams competing with each other for the top spots, with no clear favorite in sight. You also see teams competing in the other direction, determined to the worst for the best odd to get Victor Wembanyama. Then there are multiple teams that hang around in the middle, looking for that one big move to launch them up in the front. No matter which direction you look, you can see a team eyeing a trade move. Let's dig into some of the blockbuster trades we could see by the trade deadline, and buckle up for the final one because it will cause that little voice in the back of your head to go, oh my god, the league is over. The Dallas Mavericks have been very clearly underwhelming to all this season. After coming off a surprising Western Conference Finals appearance, the league was ready to believe that Luka Doncic had already reached that point of carrying a team. It already seemed like a lackluster team that year, but if they could get that far with Luka Magic, they might be legit. Well, not quite. This past season, their big acquisition was Christian Wood from Houston. It seemed like they could be their number 2 offensive punch. Defensively, it would be to zero benefits, but they need more shot creators than just Doncic out there. But then Jason Kidd, in all his high IQ basketball coaching, refuses to have Wood start. The second leading scorer on the team is running the bench unit, opting instead to have Dwight Powell or JaVale McGee be the starting 5. I guess Jason Kidd has done something right because he managed to get this squad to be just outside of a top 10 defense at number 11, but their offense stinks. There's no denying the stench of an 18th ranked offense alongside a once-in-a-generational type of talent. The Dallas Mavericks need a move, and they need a big one to jumpstart this scoring. Introducing one of the most, if not the most, dysfunctional stars out in the league. The player that, when he plays, and that's an emphasis on win, he's a dynamite shot creator and facilitator, capable of exposing defenses all on his own or finding the open man after a crafty move. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dallas Mavericks need Kyrie Irving, one of the few teams that could actually debate on if the risk is worth acquiring someone of his talents. Yes, this might sound as crazy as Kyrie himself, but let's break it down. Outside of Luka, who do the Mavs have? The other starting members of the team this year have been Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock, the Twin Towers mentioned earlier, Dwight Powell and JaVale McGee, and Spencer Dinwiddie at the point. Dinwiddie's been nice for them, but that's about as big as an adjective as you can go. Averaging 5 assists and finding open guys, but man, can you really have him as your second option? Clearly Christian Wood will never get the nod for being the team's second leading scorer because he's still stuck as 6th man. If the team brings in Kyrie and can get him to play consistently, it changes the whole dynamic of the team. This season, Irving is averaging 25 points with just under 5 assists and 5 rebounds, a clear second in command behind Luka's ridiculous 33 a game. He can create his own shot unlike Luka's current starting mates, or match Dinwiddie's production as a playmaker. Honestly, Spencer Dinwiddie is the real Maverick that could become unlocked as the 6th man. Here's how they get it done. The Kemba Walker signing could be viewed as they found their hole for shot creation, but don't be so sure. If Walker plays productive minutes after this time away from meaningful basketball, he becomes part of the sale to Brooklyn. The Nets are their own little disaster in the East who would be thrilled at someone actually coming to them about Kyrie. So the Mavs could pull off a sale of a productive point guard and a great locker room personality in Kemba Walker, help meet salaries, and provide the poorly spaced team with more shooting, Davis Bertans, and then some draft compensation that they depleted in the James Harden. Brooklyn gets to wipe their hands with Kyrie right into the sleeves of the nervous but excited Mavericks to repeat another deep playoff run. Next, we have 2 teams that should be frequently blowing themselves up, but instead at least one of them is sure to make a move to acquire more talents. The Chicago Bulls and the New York Knicks are stuck in no man's land in the East, not too far off from battling for bottom seeds in the playoffs, while also not being too far from the tanking race for Victor Wembanyama. The Bulls' core of Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Vucevic, with Lonzo and Caruso in the backcourt, started off last year as pure dynamite. The scoring dimensions with stellar perimeter defense brought them to the top of the East for quite a while last season. Unfortunately, injuries caused that year to become never fully realized, and they were ousted in the playoffs fairly easily. And now in 2022-2023, it is not looking good. Lonzo has been out with a tough knee injury that's haunted his time in Chicago. That alongside Caruso injury has left the backcourt wide open. Nikola Vucevic is looking more and more like a wasted trade as the young pieces sent to Orlando continues to rise, and Vuce struggles to stay afloat. The only bright spots are Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are still awesome, and that's why you sell them if you're in Chicago. There's not a clear path to retooling the roster to compete with any of the top teams in the East, so why not risk it all and go for Wemby? Yes, their pick is top 4 protected, but if they start now, they could get the odds possible to pull off a top 4 selection. And if you're selling an all-star in Zach LaVine, then what better team desperate for a star is there than the Knicks? New York basketball is an all-around mess. We've touched on Brooklyn, but the partner team in the Big Apple is confusing themselves. Are they a good team? Are they a bad team? It's honestly hard to tell sometimes. There are moments where Julius Randle looks like his old self and young players like RJ Barrett look like they're starting to truly figure things out. Other times there are moments when you watch their offense and are not even sure what's going on. Thibodeau is going to play his brand of basketball even if it kills him. They do have enough young pieces, however, that they can easily ship some off to Chicago and create a core of Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Zach LaVine, and Julius Randle. Madison Square Garden can finally have a reliable and built-out team again. That kind of group would make them contenders by any means, but they could at least see consistent playoffs in the years to come. The Knicks already sat on their hands with the Donovan Mitchell trade and now have to watch him soar in the upper echelon of teams. So they're going to be ready to pounce on the next star to become available, and that's what all this comes down to: availability. The Bulls are still adamant in reports that LaVine is not for sale and they're not blowing it up, but reports can often come and go. Be on the lookout in the weeks to come if the Bulls keep struggling and finally accept that maybe this core was just a fun fever dream. This final one is the biggest swing by far in this video, but it could definitely happen. The Denver Nuggets have been playing well this season with Murray back and Michael Porter Jr. in and out. Jokic is having another sleeper of an MVP stat line, and they're close to the top in the Western Conference, but the roster still doesn't scream champion favorites by any stretch. Forwards like Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown are integral to the team, but could be upgraded, maybe to someone that can do more shot creation for the team outside of Jokic and Murray. MPJ can when he's healthy, but so far his health has not been steady. Yes, we're talking about New York basketball again. You might as well call the subtitle of this video "How to Save and Destroy Basketball in New York," because this trade is all hinging on the Nets deciding they're committed to blowing up. They get another trade request from Durant, and Kyrie is still doing Kyrie things. So they want to blow it up and just get what they can to potentially build for the future and Ben Simmons. Yes, you're following this right. We already talked about Kyrie, so that leaves Kevin Durant to the Denver Nuggets. The trio is almost unimaginable. Murray in the backcourt, KD at the wing, and Jokic down low. The offense would be unstoppable and finally carry the Nuggets to the promised land. No, this wasn't on KD's original preferred teams, but this is a real contender that has the pieces to pull off this trade without being completely gutted. It's all built around Michael Porter Jr., the incredibly promising wing that, if the Nets could take a lot of care of rehabbing, could be lethal as the prime offensive weapon. Plus, compared to their current drama, what's a little on-off rehabilitation? They could throw out some of the other young pieces like Bones Highland and big man Zeke Nnaji with a few picks to get it done. Yes, Brooklyn wants a haul, but there's going to be a point where they'd rather just rip the band-aid off this KD era than get the best package, because that's the key to the league. Sometimes you get in bad spots and you're looking at two scenarios. All you need to do is take a big swing in one direction and roll with what you hit.